Okay, everyone. My name is Ken Pessold. I'm a product manager here at Intralearn. I'm going to take you through a quick demo of the NanoLearn product that Bill was talking about. So essentially, as Bill said, what we're trying to do here is provide a learning solution where your resources are coming from anywhere. You have documents in SharePoint that provide some value. As Bill mentioned, YouTube videos, Yammer, like Joel mentioned. These are all places where learning occurs, but is not necessarily being tracked and correlated to other things. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with NanoLearn. It's a SharePoint add-on. There's two web parts. What we're looking at here is what we call the contributor. That's going to be someone who's creating objects, identifying content that has value. And the other is the consumer, which are going to be your end users, people that are going to be the recipients of that content. So basically what we're seeing here is a role-based system. All your users from SharePoint can have access to the web part. We provide additional layers of permissions under the Manage Users here. So anyone that's in your SharePoint site is a candidate to be added in, which we've added a number of people here. Once they're added in, like I mentioned, there's a couple of different roles they can have. Is it going to be someone who's going to be contributing content, also someone who's a consumer of that content, viewing it, or are they a manager, someone who maybe is just interested in reports. So each user in NanoLearn can have any combination of these. And based on their roles that they have, this screen will differ. And if I flip over browsers here, I'm logged in as a different user in Firefox, we can see that when I view this page, I have a reduced set of the tiles, only the functions that apply to the role that I have. So I'll kind of walk you through the process here of starting from scratch. I would create a new nano object that we call them. And I'm going to choose where is this content coming from. It could come from SharePoint, in which case I'd navigate through the SharePoint document libraries. Any libraries and files that I have access to, I can create as a nano object. URL, any URL internally or externally, I can identify that. Or I can do some embedded content. In the case of YouTube or Yammer, they provide you with embed code, which you can then use in external applications. In this case here, I'm just going to do a quick example pointing to the webinar page on our website. And next in the process is an optional method to validate the level of knowledge someone attained or provide some feedback after they've viewed that content. View only is we're just going to track that that person accessed the link or the file that we set up in the object. We can also set up a quiz, an interaction, which is a back and forth between the creator of this object and those that view it, in which case the creator may ask the consumer to do something, maybe write a blog post, maybe participate in some discussion, and then that contributor can review and assign a score to that. We can set up surveys to get feedback from people. So after they view the content, we can say, you know, how helpful was this? Is there anything you would change about this document? So we can continually improve. And then finally, e-signature is an option to have someone digitally sign that they read and understand a document. And that can be useful for corporate policies, or if you have onboarding documents that you need just another layer of someone really saying that they read the whole thing and they understood it. Below that, we have what we call points, and this kind of aligns with what Joel was talking about with the gamification. So when I create these objects, I can assign a certain number of points that someone will earn when they complete this. And this is entirely up to the users of our software, how they want these points to be assigned and the reward system for them. So basically, as you'll see later, when a consumer completes it, they'll get a tally of these points, and then each organization can reward them with, you know, after 20 points, they receive some sort of commendation, or they win a prize, something to, going back to what Joel said, to keep them engaged and to keep working on their learning and gain more knowledge. So I'm just going to set up a quick quiz here. and we can indicate the correct answer on the left-hand side. And these quizzes can be as long or short as you wanted them to be, 1 question or 50 questions. And when we finalize that, now we have an object that we can use and we can assign people to. So assigning someone to this object we've created, we've identified a piece of content that's valuable. In this case, we're a fictitious company here that sells bicycles, motorcycles, does repair on those things. So I've identified something that's important. I created an object which we see in this list here. We do provide some filtering, lets you categorize the objects you create to help you search and bring these lists down in case you have a lot of items. If we can add people individually. Again, these would be people that we've added into the NanoLearn product from SharePoint. We can sort them by department, so if we wanted to assign a specific department to this object, we could do that, or people with a specific job title. You also have the option, too, if you have your SharePoint group set up. If we want to associate an entire SharePoint group into this object, we can do that. I'm just going to go add Harry, who's logged in as. And now I'm going to flip over to the consumer side, which again is the end user, the person who's going to be viewing the content. So on that web part, it's broken up into a current and completed tab. On the current tab, they're going to see anything that's currently assigned to them. Completed tab would be anything they've completed in the past. Below that, we do have the category filter again. So if they're assigned a lot of items, they can filter that down to find the things they're looking for. Also a search bar next to it as well. You'll see unassigned and then some items below. Things that are unassigned are single objects that were directly assigned to this user. The items that are grouped are what we call nano collections. So if you had a collection of documents, collection of YouTube videos that surround a specific thing, and you want to assign that as a group, you can do that. So in this case, it's a Winnebago. It has a link to the website page on one of the Winnebago models, and also a YouTube video that takes a tour of that model. So rather than assigning it each individually, we can group that into what we call a nano collection and then assign that. So the user, once they're assigned, they can launch these items and view them just by clicking the title. And if they mouse over, they can see the description that was provided to them. So the Intralearn webinar was a link to this page that some of you may have seen before. So they would read through that page, and then they can take the quiz after. And I'll just give you some other examples of kind of content here. This one is an embedded YouTube video. So if I'm out searching, let's say I'm a sales manager for this company, I found a YouTube video that I think would be helpful for my sales team, help them sell more bikes. I can quickly set up an object. They can view this video. And above, they can indicate if this was helpful or not. So if I viewed this video and I said, I'm not really gaining much from that, I can indicate that to the contributor. This particular item has a survey. So after I viewed that YouTube video, we can, again, provide more feedback. What level of information? In this case, since I said it wasn't helpful, I'll probably also say I didn't get enough information from it, and I can submit that. Next is a PDF that's part of SharePoint. So this is a PDF in the document library. If I went into this bicycles document library, you'd see this PDF there. So I could read through this and, again, indicate if this was helpful or not. Not a requirement. I can use that if I want. This one has a quiz associated with it, and the quiz would be useful here to make sure that someone actually read through that PDF. So you could have 10 questions, like I said earlier, but in this case, we're going to assume they read enough of it to answer this question. in which case they'll see their score that they achieved on that quiz. And then finally, one last object we'll take a look at is a Yammer group that we have. So in this Yammer group, this is something I posted in, someone replied to, so I can contribute directly into this Yammer group. So if, again, going back to this, sales manager, it'd be nice and helpful if our team can communicate to each other. If there's anything they found while they were selling that helped in the sales process, they could share it with the team here. And again, directly reply into this Yammer group if they wanted to. So once we've completed these objects, they move over to the completed tab. We've seen the things we completed in the past, what we got for a score, and how many points we earned for those items. And at the top, we have a tally of our total points. And again, each company will have a different purpose for this, but it circles back to what Joel is saying, is people want to see that they're achieving something and then get rewarded for it. And what that does is, in our case, it encourages more learning. So the more learning people take, the better that they're going to be at their job. So we want to keep incentivizing them to do that. So if I jump back to the contributor again, we're going to look at some of the data that we're tracking with this. So out of the box right now, we have 3 reports that give you some insight. All this data that we've seen is being captured in a database. So if you wanted to have custom reports built that align more with what your company is doing, all that data is available and can be mined to create those reports. So one example we're looking at here, we can provide a start and end date and then pick a specific object. And what this is going to show us is a breakdown of how many people were assigned to this and how many are in progress, not started, and completed. So this gives us a nice visual of I created an object or someone created an object, and this is the report viewer running it. How many people did they assign it to? What kind of participation are they having in that? Because right now, let's say I found something useful to share with the team. I'm either going to send someone an email, I'm going to send them an IM, something on link, I might post it somewhere, and I really have no tracking to see who utilized that, and then if they did utilize it, what did they gain from it? So these reports and the data we're tracking gives you visibility into that. So if we go back to the reports and run another one on that same object, we can get the breakdown of those 6 people. So we can see the 6 people that were assigned, which ones didn't start, which ones completed, when they completed it, and what kind of score they got, if applicable, if it was a quiz or something that's graded. And then all these reports can be exported to Excel, PDF, Word. So if you want to save off this data, maybe send it to someone, and do with it what you will at that point, you can. And finally, we'll look at our daily dashboard. So this gives you a nice view into the activity of the usage of NanoLearn on a daily basis. So if we start at the top, we can see that 9 different consumers viewed content today. 5 of those people actually completed those objects. We give an indicator if someone accessed it from a mobile device. So if we want to see how many people are actually using their Android phones or their Apple phones or an iPad, this gives us some insight into that. And then finally on this side, we can see of all the content that was viewed today, how many people indicated that that piece of content was helpful or not. On the other side, we can see some information about people contributing or creating these objects. So today there was 2 different people that created an object with a total of 4 objects created. So between those 2 people, they created 4. And then all time, we can see that we have 10 objects created in the system, and that there's 3 people in the entire system that are providing those 10. Below that gives us a 7-day view into activity on the consumer side. So how many objects were completed each day? So yesterday, 2 people completed. Today we had a lot more activity. There were 5 completions. And on the other side, again, for the contributors, 2 days ago, there was only 2 objects created. Yesterday, there was 4. Today, there was 4. So in each of those cases, we're providing data that's either not tracked or ignored nowadays in most of this social learning or the informal learning. We're trying to provide just enough structure to give you visibility to those things and reward the people that are contributing to the learning.